Don't speak of what just happened. Hey, everybody, welcome into the Radio Misfits for a Monday night. I am Pugs Moran. He is James Parker, and we've got E.
Yes. Hello?
Yeah, I don't know. I just wonder if anybody wanted to jump in with anything. Anybody want to get this ball rolling? Because what we do here on the Radio Misfit show, every night at 9 o'clock, the three of us get together and we hang out. We chop it up. We talk about whatever there is to talk about. I just thought I'd lay out here in the beginning and see if anybody else wanted to jump in, and nobody did. So
I'm always confused because I'm the last person to jump in.
Well, you know,
The order is you, then James, then me. I didn't hear James, so I sit here patiently waiting. So that's what I did.
Well, I think the typical rhythm would be where I would introduce everybody on the occasions that I remember to hit the go live button, which I didn't do today. But on those occasions, I would intro the show and then typically do a little bit of verbal dancing around the shows every Monday through Thursday. Blah blah. Blah. I do that whole thing, and then usually I would say, James, what do you got? Or I offer James the ball first. You, sir. You are never expected to have anything unless, of course, that is a role you would like to develop for yourself. I mean, I do not ever think to go to you, and even though I should, you lead a very interesting life. So if there's ever anything that you would like, I can maybe offer it. Let's go to E first, James. Would you have a problem? Let's see this. E, would you like to go first tonight?
I don't know if you went to me that you would get the mic back.
Well, we can see. Here's the thing about this: we can always put baby in the corner. We can always take the mic back if we need to. But I think you, as an equal member of this here show, the Radio Misfits, the conglomerate that we are, a menage and nonsense, as I called it the other week. What do you got? What's on your mind? What's happening this week?
I'd like to do a little clearing of the air.
Okay.
First of all, I think last week James was actually insulted that I didn't come prepared to the show. I thought he had raised an issue somewhat last week that he thought it was improper of me, yet again, not my attire, but my content bringing to the show. Is that accurate?
James, is that true?
Well, that's half true. The half of it that's not true is there's no expectation that you ever bring anything to the table, because we've been doing this with you for, a year and a half now, and never does Amos like, oh, I got something, guys. Now check this out. I saw something last night, and I just wanted to run by this to you. You have never done that in a year and a half.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that that's completely welcome, although not required. I mean, I don't expect it from you because you just kind of fell into the role that you have.
Right.
But if you ever got anything, yeah, you should feel free. And on the days that if we ever get Keynote back mixed in here, he should feel the same way.
Now there are days that you carry the show, but it's not your doing.
It's happenstance.
Yeah. So when you go to Austin to see the Rolling Stones, and we beat the trip out of you, right? We call you on the trip, and then when you get home, we ask you questions about your trip. That's cool. When you go save people on Lake Louisville, some methed up guy.
There you go.
Yeah. You carry shows because you actually have a life that's more interesting than.
But we can't. What James is saying is we can't depend on that.
I got it. All right.
It just so happens it occurs and it's magic. But
you're like rental income. You don't do anything. It's like passive income. It's like you doesn't go print anything out or go pull some audio, but you do have a weed farm in Tulsa that we got to talk about every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw a beautiful update today from the what were we 3 weeks in or 3 months in. And this harvest.
Yeah. No. 7 weeks in. 7 weeks in. Yeah.
Dude, this harvest is looking spectacular. This is your new side job now?
How do you know? How do you know? James, the guy who just last week said, I can't tell the difference between indica and sativa. Now he's eyeballing your crop and giving you the thumbs up. How do you know?
Fair criticism. I have not grown a weed crop before.
Right.
However, I've watched a lot of them shows on TV where they're busting big old weed houses like this. And I remember when we used to work at the station and we had a subscription to High Times. That was so weird. That was one of the things, because I never as much weed as I smoked in my younger days, wink, wink. I never really was exposed to High Times until I worked at 105.3, and we had did we have a subscription there? Or people just kept bringing it.
Yeah, it's just
And
stupid.
I remember flipping through there, and there's pictures of people's grow setups. And I'm like, this is all illegal. Y'all have a magazine where you send in a picture of your gigantic, $40,000 illegal grow operation, and I hadn't seen it really like in the real world. I'd seen it in High Times, or I've seen it in like this Dateline special where they go bust this guy where, all the snow is melting off his roof in January, and turns out he had a grow operation in the attic. So is that a personal story? Do you have one of those?
No, I'm loving the the thoughts. I mean, that's awesome, because to think that it's legal and you can get away with that is just
James just
it's
identified.
fun. It's fun.
James just identified an addendum to something that had been confounding us here on this show for months, which is these loopholes towards legalization, especially here in Texas. These, we were talking about these things. Remember, I went on my rant about how it's all a construct and we all just pretend to follow these rules because that's what we're told to do. So we just do it. Okay. So because obviously the Texas marijuana laws, they bolster my opinion that this is all bullshit and it makes no sense and that they're just doing shit. You just identified a whole new area of that. James, for decades, you're absolutely right. For decades, High Times was like putting pictures of people's illegal grow operations in a nationally distributed newspaper magazine that had major advertisers, I mean, they made their money through a lot of it was the ads in the back, but they had advertisers, and we all just went, whatever.
Right. And now it's legal, and this is like weed porn. Like what I have got for the last 7 weeks, okay, is virtually from seed to week 7 weed porn. We are still not into the take off your bra and show us underneath your panties phase of this weed porn.
Fetishize into, I hate this. Now are you going to be one of these guys now, like these guys that fetishize beer or guys that fetishize weed and guns? Stop it. It's
one time he tries to be theatrical. You don't want to stomp it down, even though it's a little too much. But but the weed people see it that way because, like in High Times, not only would they have the grow rooms, but they'd have like the really super high res close ups of the buds. You can see like the little crystals on them.
Yeah, James, they do. They see it that way. But can we agree they're idiots? I mean, that's like a really
I would submit
juvenile
to you, sir. I would submit to you, sir, as somebody who has participated in weed for over 20 some years that I can recollect, without, I would say, less than 100 days off it. Well, no, there was the 2 years. But anyway, the point is, with from a long-standing situation, there is a certain attraction to the actual flower that exists within one that you don't need. Like, okay, it has hints of chocolate oak with that. It's not that like a Cabernet of wine.
Yeah, like there's wine fetishists too, and bourbon fetishists, and people who turn all these things into like these.
Right. It's not where I think the world. Sexual. Right, but it's not where I think the world goes and says, "Oh, I'm there." But if you've walked into like a Planet, 13 in Vegas or any of these like ultra high-end weed shops and you see it exposed, there is a moment you're like, oh, this is so wonderful.
No. It's in my argument, yes, I agree with that. I agree that there is that moment,
and it's indoor.
No, I'm saying that this is not a real emotion, that it's just a program thing. No, I think there is. Look,
it is a real emotion.
Let me ask.
I want to motorboat that shit.
No, you see,
like I want to go through that weed on my social media and go.
And if that's
like
you,
right, and I want to take social media and put that on my TikTok, and I want to be like like a grower
There
that
you
I
go.
am that excited about
Okay.
my weed.
So that's you. That's you. And I'm saying that's weird. See, I'm saying normal people don't actually fetishize it to that degree. And when you walk into the weed shop and everybody's like, oh man, this is all that's programmed. You cannot, society dictates that whenever you're in a room with dudes and a dude's
Not
showing you a
programmed,
bud,
dude.
hold on, yes, of course it's programmed. You can't have a dude pull out a really nice bud without everybody going, oh man, that's gorgeous. It's a fucking flower.
No.
What are you people getting
No.
about? It's programming. It's social
No.
expectations, and I ain't doing it anymore. I ain't gonna
No.
participate.
Once you've been there, it's tough to go back.
Well, just because it's Pavlovian doesn't mean it's wrong. It's the same way, like
No, it just means I reject it, and it's weird that you don't. That's my whole point. And now I'll shut up.
I know, but when you look at it, there's nothing sexy about this collection of little shriveled up leaves and bud particles. However, when you put this in front of someone who, over the course of the last 3 decades of their life, have seen this little bud, smoked it, and then had a great time the rest of the evening, they start to associate these positive brain chemistry reactions in their head whenever they see that. And so that's what they're getting off on.
And my reference is we are not yet in the flowering part of the process. So the flowering part of the process is what is producing the actual buds. We are getting excited looking at the growth in the green and what we imagine the smell to be in that room. But we haven't seen the flowering. Right now we're about to head into the flowering stage. And so then we'll start to see, and mind you, this is my first grow, right? So then we're supposedly going to start to see these little buds that start forming. And then it's the starve the plant and feed it with the nutrients and starve the plant and feed it with the nutrients that make it grow and expand and expand, and the buds get heavier and the hairs get crazier. And so that's the level of artiste that you don't need to be, a connoisseur of anything other than you realize that you are now.
I don't know what the fuck we're talking about anymore. We're talking about we don't need to go into this.
Well, you're building a brand in a strand of weed, and you're building other things. So, like when you go into your essential oils shop and you see wedding cake,
just never going to get the name right. Never going to get he's just going to call it essential oils forever.
Oh wait, no. It's the wrong one. It's like the
You're
Karate
never
Kid.
going to get it right.
Sacred oils.
There
we go. It's like close. It's the same. It's close.
Right,
but if you go into sacred oils, and which, by the way, thank you, Sacred Oils, for this hat, which I wore. I'll give them credit for that again. But if you go into Sacred Oils and you say, hey, there's wedding cake, and this wedding cake is supposedly hemp wedding cake. It's not weed wedding cake. If you looked at it and it was just like insane looking, like those red hairs that wrapped around it, and it was really fuzzy, and you saw purple hairs and you saw crystallization on it, you would look at that bud versus some other bud that you got somewhere around and you go, wow, this one is different. You don't know what about it is different. You don't know, like, it's got so much of this, and this will help your that, and this will fix your toe. But you look at it and go, wow, I want to smoke that.
Okay, now that is different than the guys that are like, oh, dude, all right, high five. Oh, man, what I would do to that. And you with the euphemisms, I would motorboat that. That's also juvenile to me. That's how this whole thing started. I push back on that response from now on when it comes to sexualizing weed, whiskey, guns. Man, look at my new gun. Just stop it with all of that. You want to sexualize something? Make it a human being. All right, that's it. That's where I draw the line. James, what do you got? You got anything today?
I mean, maybe food.
Okay, all right. Now you found the one. You found the one hole. Yeah, you can sexualize food. Food is
found the one hole.
Carnal. Food is carnal. Very much like sex. So I don't think that's a big stretch.
I want to start with something.
Weed is very much like sex.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I've smoked a lot of weed, never had an orgasm.
No, it's not. It's like wine. That's at best.
I strongly disagree.
Look, I like
It
Freddie.
makes
He's
sex
great.
more enjoyable.
Okay, James, what do you got? James, we're moving on.
Yeah, we are. Pugs, I bet you know more about this story. This seems like something you've been keeping a beat on while the rest of us
I
were
didn't
watching.
even get to what I want to talk about.
You just
Because
talked
it
about
took too
weed for
long.
15 minutes.
You see, you took too long, man.
You love weed. We
That's
got
it.
it.
You
You were
talked
going for
about what
10
you
minutes
wanted to
straight.
talk about in my life. I didn't get to talk about what I wanted to talk about in my life.
All right, James, go ahead. Come on, we'll move on.
Wait,
Let's-
no. Can you do it in 60 seconds? Can you just wrap this up? 60 seconds.
It was related to the weed farm.
Do it in 60 seconds. Go.
So, and then I saw Leslie's comment.
Okay, so now he's distracted with Leslie's comment.
No,
You can't
no,
just-
and Leslie's comment was about straight on of what I was thinking. And so this has been an idea. So it's an 18-acre farm, right? And it's out in the middle of nowhere in Tornado Alley. And so having anything there structure-wise is probably like you want to build it to be able to withstand things. And so I'm thinking of dividing this 18 acres into like little campsites. And so like have maybe 18 campsites. And then you pull maybe in, like we go to Kojak and we say, hey, dude, we want some of your rundown like motorhome trailers. And
All right.
we want to,
And you want to start a weed fantasy camp.
and I want to start a
We don't have
place
60 seconds, bro. We don't need to get in the model of your.
where I air
This is where it's gonna go. Well,
Right.
we're like what we said.
where I
60 seconds.
Airbnb them, right? And I
Yeah,
put
you
them
wanna
out.
put cabins on your farm and let people come out and pick them and stuff.
And then I
Great.
want to customize them. I want to get
Better.
partners. I want to get partners. I want to customize
Not
them.
important to the story. Not important to the story.
And I want to create one like Snoop Dogg's weed, like trailer, one Willie Nelson's trailer, like dudes that
They'll
are
have
in
themes.
in the weed. So they'll have theme suites that are in there. And then you take like the pool deck where it's got the above ground pool and you put a bunch of above ground pool and then you deck it there. And so I'm thinking this is an opportunity to like then get like 18 investors and each guy takes his plot and he does what he does. And then they share in the actual weed that comes out of the farm and they harvest it.
All right.
And then you have like skeet and like, what's that throw in the air game with the bags?
Here's what I've learned: don't mock his ideas. You might want to. You might feel
ATV
compelled to.
rides. Like
Don't mock
ATV
his
rides.
ideas.
It's got 2 ponds.
James, what do you got? Come on, we got to move on. We got it. I think that's a great idea. We'll explore that more. Now I feel like I hurt his feelings.
No, not at
We
all.
need to have a talk about brevity and word economy.
Brevity. No, that's why we have him here. But if we're going to allow him to run off leash, which is really what let's break it down. He's our dog, he's not on a leash. Okay, we're allowing him to run off leash. If he is going to continue to just run away the way he is, then we're gonna have to start. See, we're gonna have to start putting the choker collar on him. And that's
Tupac sweet.
See, we need to be, we can't be afraid to put him in the corner for a little while. Here's why. He will never figure out how to get himself back on. He can, but he will never figure out how to do it.
All right.
There we go. So he's back. James, what do you got?
This story. What do you know about this, Pugs? Have you heard about this?
Oh yeah, we've been following this all day, James. But go ahead, take it. Titanic panic.
That's what I was hoping. I was hoping you were all over this. This seems like such a Pug story. So here's what I got. So there is some company that has this little sub that'll take you and a handful of people. It doesn't matter. You could be a tourist. You could be a scientist. You could be a university professor who just got a grant and whatever. I don't care. Bill Paxton's carcass.
Rich guy trying to impress your Hooters calendar girl of the year on your trip to wherever, Bermuda. I don't know where you at when you're taking one of these. Are you in the middle of the ocean? Is there close to you know what I mean? Where is this? Can you be in
the North Atlantic? It's right between England and New York City. That's way up there.
There ain't nothing there. Maybe Bermuda.
And I don't know if y'all have noticed. New York is on a latitude kind of with Rome. So London, it didn't start from London. Where did it start from? It was on the west side, like Southampton or something. But wherever, Norwich, wasn't it in Norwich? Anyway, it started from the west side of the Isle of England, which is way up here, and so it came down to New York. So it's up there in the North Atlantic, icebergs, obviously. So that is like one of the factors is how cold it is. Like, is there sort of an issue? Like, if they were having trouble, like that's something that could compound it.
I would think that being a search team is like not a good sign. If you're running out of air, are you not going up to the top?
Tell me what I don't know about this story.
Hold on, I'm trying to find the latest on it that'll give us the information that we need. All right, so basically, here's what it is. It is one of these. James laid it out. It's a tourist thing. You can rent out this submarine, and it'll take you down around the Titanic, and you can look out the windows, and you can hoo and ah. And it's incredibly expensive, and it's something that only super rich people do. But it is something that super rich people do, like in this case, where there is a fairly well-known British billionaire who is believed on board this thing. He rented it for like him. Now, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this guy. This guy went up in Blue Origin. He's already been to space. He's one of the Bezos guys. He's one of the guys that bought a ticket to get on Bezos's rocket and went up there with like William Shatner or somebody, whatever. This is the guy. And he's now missing on board this submarine. See, James, you're not missing anything. The submarine went to look at the Titanic and it went missing. And now everybody's like, uh-oh, this is bad. But, this is not bad. This does not concern me. I am never going to be able to spend like $5,000 per seat on like a 5-seat submarine to rent it for the afternoon. So if this is how rich people need to go out, I say that's fine by me. James?
I'm a little concerned in 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's only got 96. Wait, how many hours of, let me see if I can find I think it only had like 96 hours of air and it's already been down.
But I'm saying I'm concerned at 24. I'm not all that concerned right now. This looks like, hey, I want to go there. I rented it. Did they chart them and tell them when they expected on being back? Like, is this abnormal? If it's a private charter and a guy takes it.
I would say that, yes, it's abnormal because it's global news now, right? So, I mean, obviously, if it wasn't normal, this is abnormal. Exclusive Titanic submarine, billionaire Brit explorer and adventurer among missing after tourist sub disappears. A search and rescue operation is underway after a submersible used to take tourists to visit the Titanic wreckage went missing in the Atlantic Ocean. British billionaire explorer Hamish Harding, who flew into space on Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin rocket, is among the missing. Billionaire British explorers among the missing after some blah, 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 blah. Up to 5 people, including Hamish, are trapped underwater as the U.S. Coast Guard tonight are in a race against time to find the vessel. How do they know they're trapped underwater if they don't know where they are? Right? Did you hear that sentence that I just read?
Well, it's got to be.
No. Look, there's reasons to believe that could be a true statement. If they can like have immediate satellite images of the surface of the water, they would see if anything bobbed up, or if there's some way they could sonar it out, or they've been able to do some flyover. You would see it in a flyover if it had come to the surface.
But then they would know where it is. They don't know where it is, but they're saying they're trapped underwater. Up to 5 people, including Hamish, are trapped underwater as the U.S. Coast Guard tonight are in a race against time to find the vessel. They don't know where it is. They don't know they're underwater.
Well, it must have lost some type of mobility power, is my guess. And so
it might have just lost Wi-Fi, and everything else could be working fine. And that's the greatest hope, is they've just lost the ability to communicate back with the motherland here. And the air conditioning and toilet still works, but
I would imagine they're on some type of sonar.
The 3 people who are identified so far are said to include the British billionaire and explorer Hamish Harding, French submersible pilot. This is the guy piloting it. This is the guy who screwed up. It's always going to be pilot error in a situation like this. It's got to be. You didn't know it wasn't safe to take down. You know what I mean? No matter what it is.
Maybe they crashed into something. Something fell into the propeller. like the propeller came off.
Okay, those are all very
flat tire.
valid, right? But you're telling me there aren't contingencies for that? When you
You
are
would
in a submarine
think.
underwater, there aren't contingencies
Maybe
for it.
they're wedged into somewhere, like they fell and got locked in and can't get out.
Let's identify the elephant in the room. Bermuda Triangle. The crew reported lost this morning has an oxygen supply able to last 96 hours. If the submersible's oxygen supply has not been damaged, the crew have until 6 a.m. UK time on Thursday before it completely runs out. At a press conference, so this is going to be the next couple of days. Is CNN going to have a little submarine graphic?
Yeah, they're going to start
Right.
picking up. Networks are going to start picking this up probably tomorrow, maybe the day after.
What do you think it's like to be
These
trapped?
dudes are dead, right? We all agree, like 99%.
It's not a
chance these
good
dudes are
sign.
dead.
It is not a good sign that they are out in a search for you. And I would be concerned at the 24-hour mark, like really concerned. Like right now, yeah, I'd say they're dead. But, you know, if I was the family and you get to 24 hours, I'm telling you, they're probably dead.
What do you? So, what do you think it's like to be trapped down there in a submarine with
Got
a
to be
billionaire?
awful.
No,
You
no,
gotta
I'm
be-
just. Yeah, I know it's awful, but I'm sure that Thurston Howell, being one of the guys down there, isn't making shit easier. I bet he's being a real problem because he's down there with the pilot. You got the billionaire, the pilot, and the owner of the tourism company, the company that owns these tours, and they believe a couple other people, unnamed people. I'm guessing chicks. There's a couple of chicks with them. And it's the owner of the tourism company who owns the submarine. It's the pilot of the submarine. And it's this British billionaire who's already been to space. I'm just saying, I bet you he's not cool. I bet he's not being cool about all of this.
Well, he's a guy who's in it for the thrill, and he's loving the adrenaline rush. He might be pretty cool. I mean, this is a guy that's already been to space. He's probably the big vet in the room, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, because he wrote a check. Now he's an astronaut. No, he wrote a check, got strapped into a seat, and survived 90 seconds. That's okay. He's not an adventurer. He's a rich guy with a checkbook.
All right, hey, no. Breaking news: one of the crew just sent back a text. They took a picture of what they're seeing now from the submersible, the Titanic.
There you go.
Too soon?
Not too soon. No, because now we still got hope. Hell, they've only been down there for a day.
I say if it gets to the 24-hour period, you're gone. You're a goner. I would guess right now what I've heard.
We know these situations because this is a situation like if you got stuck in a spaceship, or if you got stuck in a cave, or if you got stuck in a car in a blizzard. It's you go straight. The first thing you go to is all the basics of human life. Where do you take a dump? Is there a toilet in this junk? Because this is a 21-foot submersible. That's the size of an Impala, and they don't put toilets in Impalas. I mean, like
no, there's nowhere to go poop. There's certainly nowhere to go, and you're probably in a wetsuit.
Problem number one. Problem number one is first time someone has to take a dump. You can only hold it for so long, ladies and gentlemen. Number two, water, like actually just drinking water and staying alive. They'll be dead in 3 days before they run out of oxygen. You will dehydrate in 3 days if you don't get something. Oh, yeah. And how painfully ironic is if you die of dehydration when you're under 13,000 feet of water. That's god awful.
All right, James, I found a picture of it. So this is the thing that they're in. This is no jokes, not being silly like old James here. This is the machine that they are in. That's it.
Oh my.
That's a tiny little. It sucks.
Well, I wouldn't go for that. I wouldn't go in that to the bottom of Lake Palestine, and I'm worth negative equity. Like, this guy's a billionaire and he's risking his life.
Yeah.
To go what? Look at some mossed up dumb ship with seaweed on it.
But
I would bet you that guy is probably the most upbeat of everybody on that crew.
No, he's dead already. He's been killed. He's been murdered by the pilot. The pilot of the ship, who is former like Israeli military, killed this guy about 2 hours into this problem. I don't think he's still alive. The rich guy's
Okay,
dead.
so my next question is, if they're having some sort of issue, what is life like if you lose electricity on that thing? So you got to think, does the oxygen still work? Probably, just you can live off what's in the cabin for a while, but the motors don't work and the lights don't work. So is everything pitch black in there until everyone's cell phone runs out of light? Or do they even take their cell phone? Do they have any light?
Right? Yeah. Like, what's that about? Here, you want to see the inside? I found a picture with the inside. That's basically what it looks like on the inside.
Yeah, that pitch black. Well, here you got to do this.
Oh, it's not shared. Sorry. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so there you go. That's what it looks like on the inside. It is 1, 2, 3 rows of 2 seats.
And then some dude's riding bitch in the back.
Yeah, actually, I think the guy riding bitch is the pilot. So I think that's the pilot, and I think it's like 4 seats in front of him that get to look out that crazy window.
Ooh. See, now Leslie has the wrong idea. She says, and is it hot inside? They are probably 13,000 feet underwater, and it's freezing ass cold.
They're in wetsuits too, I'm sure. So
why would you be in a wetsuit?
How long was the voyage?
I don't know why they would be. I just figured they might be.
And how long was the voyage expected to be?
3-hour
Like, what
tour.
is
3-hour tour?
Oh, jeez, look at us. I won. It was a foot race. All right. So, that's so wait, where's the latest update? You said that they were actually talking to people. So where did you? Oh no, you were kidding. That was a joke.
Oh, I lied to make a Titanic joke. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so let me have the floor now because I got something I want to talk about as well. This is a story that was trending earlier today. Let me make sure I know who this is.
A man named Brady.
This is a story that was trending earlier today, and so it made the list on the High Noon Report, which we do every Monday through Friday at noon. But I want to dig deeper into it with you guys because it is the results of an MDMA study. MDMA, we all know what MDMA is, right?
Never heard of it.
MDMA, more popularly known to my generation as ecstasy, maybe to a later generation as Molly. I don't know what the kids today are calling it, but MDMA. It's the love drug. Makes you. Any thoughts on MDMA?
It's supposed to make you more loving.
Supposed to. Have you ever done it?
Yeah.
Well, then what do you mean supposed to?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Molly, I don't know if Molly is the same. I've heard Molly to also be at one point in time like black Molly's.
Okay, but that's not Molly. Straight up Molly is
speed.
Just,
We're speed. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Molly's just MDMA?
Molly is just it's just a different name for it.
It's not a combination of speed and
it might be, but it gives you the effects that MDMA is. So that's what kids call it. James, how about you? Thoughts on ecstasy, Molly, MDMA, whatever it is that we called it?
Never done it. Never.
Really?
Never ecstasy?
Dude, that is so obvious. It is so obvious that he has never had those walls broken down. You can tell he is cold and soulless. I mean, he's a wonderful people for those close to him and those in his life. But, he's like, he's this heartless. So that's you. I want to do MDMA with James now. Let's do it, James.
Guys, I have done 1,000 hits of MDMA in my lifetime. Okay, good God.
I know, of course you have. That's your generation.
My MDMA career sunsetted about the time I started having kids. And, it's one of those things where, what's the rule? Like, you don't do any white drugs after 40? I started having kids at 33, and it kind of cut off right there.
So you haven't done any white drugs since having kids?
I would say very sporadically. There have been a couple of times when you're like at a party or something, and people were like, "Here, man, just take it."
You know what? That's crazy that you say that because I think I could honestly say the exact same thing. Yeah, I don't think I've done any illicit drugs other than weed or beer since having a kid. you know?
Yeah, because I used to have a rule that you don't do any hard drugs unless they're free, and that kind of like withered away because
That's the barrier.
Well, you know,
it was when you started having kids and you wanted to be more responsible. Yeah.
you didn't want to be spending money on drugs.
Being free as a parent was the barrier.
Yeah.
Well, no, and I was saying even that didn't last long into parenthood because I just can't be up all night. I've got to take.
Well, and you can't be taking the chance when it's free of what the hell it is.
And also, we're talking about a drug that, and this is part of the study. This is a drug that you can't take every day. You can't take any day. It's what little is known about the drug is, the serotonin imbalances that it creates in people's brains and all this kind of stuff. You can't take this stuff every day. The body you just have a bad effect. But this study that they did, and this comes out of the BBC. This is them writing about it. There was one interesting result. Now this came out of the University of Chicago. This is the University of Chicago doing this, and it's a 5-year-long study where they interviewed all of these people. And by the way, I just think it's wonderful that now real legitimate research places can do authentic studies on things that 10 years ago would have had everybody let out of the lab in handcuffs for being horrible. So this is good. So MDMA and psilocybins and all these kinds of things are now free to be researched by people who know such things. So this study has been going on for a while at the University of Chicago. It's an MDMA study. And one of the interesting things that they found, and I wanted to get this from you, was the case study of one guy named Brendan. Okay, they're not giving us his last name, but Brendan was a guy who signed up for the study. And after he finished participating in it, he was given an exit interview. And at the end of his exit interview, he wrote on this little piece of paper, here, wait, let me get exactly what he wrote. This experience has helped me sort out a debilitating personal issue. Remember now, he hand wrote this at the end of his paperwork on his way out the door. This experience has helped me sort out a debilitating personal issue. Google my name. I know now what I need to do. And so they saw this and they're like, uh-oh, did we just break somebody? Because that's a pretty cryptic, kind of thing to write after going through a mind-altering, kind of thing. So the doctors were like, oh, shit, let's Google him. So they Google him. And it turns out that old Brendan, the guy who wrote, this experience has helped me sort out a debilitating personal issue. Google my name. I know now what I need to do. So upon Googling him, they find out that Brendan is a very well-known and high-profile leader of a large Midwestern white supremacy group. He's like a white supremacist leader. And they Google him, and there's arrest reports, and there's newspaper articles, and there's videos of him at rallies talking about, all the things that Nazis talk about. So they were a little concerned now, right? Now they're like, oh, crap, what the hell does this mean? He knows what he's got to do. Well, fast forward, it turns out that MDMA in this trial has turned this former leader of a white supremacist group into somebody who now sees the errors of his ways and is trying to do whatever he can to make up for the way he saw the world before these MDMA trials. One success story, folks. That's all we need.
We cured racism.
Cured racism.
Now, that's not going to happen for everybody, but I bet you zero people are going to take MDMA and go from a non-racist person and be like, man, blacks, like it will never cause people to go the other direction.
Never. See, that's the thing. And that's why I think it's crazy, because when you look at, I don't know, when you think about these rallies, and where some of the bad guys show up who are wearing the swastika armbands, they're the obvious bad guys, these guys are looking to just cause trouble. Those guys have never done Molly, those guys have never done ecstasy. Because imagine if you did just suddenly take them to a barn, put on some techno and give them all Kool-Aid laced with ecstasy, they'd probably be really wonderful guys. And here we have the case of Brandon. We got the case of Brendan, who was the leader of here, I'll tell you what he was. He was the leader of the Midwest faction of the Identity Europa, a notorious white nationalist group with global enlistments of over 10,000, rebranded in 2019 as the American Identity Movement. Okay, so he's the leader of the Midwestern chapter of the American Identity Movement. And he does a little ecstasy at the University of Chicago, and now he's got a black girlfriend.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. Awesome.
I love that story because
Yeah.
it's also funny because I like learning more about these white supremacist groups because the things that they find are cool are things that no one else finds cool. Like, you want to name your group Europa? Europa.
Well, it's because of the whole Aryan thing, you know.
I know, but like Europeans are such pansies. Like, that doesn't sound like a group I want to be a part of. Like, we make fun of Europeans. We have a bit called Gay or European. Like, you're trying to be like, we're manly and we're superior. What's your name? Europa. Right? What are you? You sound like a brand name for my girlfriend's handbag.
So what happened to Brendan? Brendan's going to tell you a little bit about. Brendan wants you to know that, you know, what changed in him. Well, MDMA. What does MDMA make you do, E? What does it make you do?
Makes you like touchy-feely.
Makes you love. Makes you care. Makes you want to be present in the energy of another. You know, whatever the moment is, you just want to be there, sharing that energy, identifying, connecting with another human being, otherwise known as love. That's what MDMA does. That's why they call it ecstasy. Okay, they don't call it, you know, rough night. You know, the drug is not called sprained ankle. It's called ecstasy. You know, I mean,
or I need water.
Yeah, well, that they could call it that. So Brendan said that while in this MDMA study, for the very first time in his life, he recognized love as an emotion. He talks about where he came from. He came from, obviously, you know, Midwestern Nazi leader, probably came from a rough upbringing, probably had a dad who wasn't the greatest guy in the world. You know, you can imagine all these things.
Do they pipe in rhythmic music?
I don't know.
Like, are you listening to like some house or, you know, vibe? Like, is there some? I think
Maybe.
there is something with that rhythmic vibe and MDMA that the Germans found, and that's a type of like therapy. I think I maybe read something on that.
Well, no, you know, MDMA started right here in Highland Park, Texas. It's where it was first. Do you know the story of MDMA, James?
John Hinckley got busted for it, didn't he?
No, I don't know about that.
Hell yeah, I know.
Yeah, the story of MDMA is that it was a Highland Park, Texas therapist.
Yeah, people that are like 10, 15 years older than me, when I lived in Dallas, wouldn't stop telling me about how it got started in Dallas.
Look, so, you know, it's a marital therapist here in Highland Park. They were handling a bunch of, this was the 1970s, 1980s, handling a bunch of wealthy Highland Park couples who were having marriage problems. They would meet in their nice Highland Park home, and they would all do this experimental drug that he had found. It was created by the Germans, MDMA, but he had found it. He was a chemist and he worked for SMU, and he created this whole tablet thing because he thought it might have good effects in his therapeutic work. Not illegal, because this dude just mixed it up in his bathtub and nobody knew to make it illegal because, you know, he wasn't a problem yet. But so he started giving it to all of his therapists, to all of his patients here in Highland Park, Texas. And this is probably 1979, 1980. Now, word among this specific society class got out about it. And so everybody started wanting it. And then it turned into a very big thing in Dallas for a good year to 2 years before it broke out to the rest of the country. So if there is, you know, ever a drug that Dallas wants to say, that's us, baby, the Dr. Pepper of drugs for Texas,
yeah, and it
is ecstasy.
If you were in Dallas in the late 90s and early 2000s, all of your older clubby party friends would not stop talking about the Start Club because it had giant bowls of ecstasy, pure MDMA for free. And you could just go and take a handful of pure MDMA and have the time of your life. And then you go back the next day and do it again. Yeah.
Well, try to see if there's anything more.
We bummed away. Remember that song?
Yeah, The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Yeah, they would play that at the Start Club, and they would be dancing on the steps to that. Oh, dude, it was probably some of the gayest moments that I can remember.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying it was a bunch of men late at night on the
So what you're
steps.
saying is, for the time period of the 1980s, you were shocked by how overtly homosexual and public it was.
The Start
Yeah.
Club, yeah, because there were bathrooms that
Well, the
were.
80s were really gay, just
Yeah,
period.
but it wasn't public. You had to go to special places like the Star Club to
Well,
see
I
it.
mean, you can say it wasn't public, but you can also get a Poison album, look at it, and be like, I don't know if that's dudes or chicks. Like,
Yeah.
anyway, well, I think the Faces is a dude. The
No,
drummer,
you could go in the bathroom and anything could happen. It was not a section of stalls. Like this was men and this was women. This is a bathroom.
80s people were wild, yo. They were crazy.
yeah, and then you had like the Culture Club bopping around, and the weird thing about the 80s was so many dudes were wearing makeup, and I don't mean like just put on a little base so you're not shiny, like the eyeshadow and the
Yeah.
lipstick and the eyeliner, and like I got a little concerned when emo got big about 20 years ago and dudes were wearing eyeliner again. I'm be like, I'm not wearing eyeliner.
No.
I'll put on like base and
But
foundation or whatever if I got to go on TV, but I can't
It
do
was
that.
never an option. Makeup of any
when
kind.
you were at
Never.
Stark, though, like you would get to Stark at 2. Like Stark didn't start rocking until after everything else in Dallas was shut down. And the fact that they weren't serving alcohol, nobody gave a crap because everybody was on MDMA. And so when you're taking MDMA, you can drink or you cannot drink, but basically you just flip your switch and you go, okay, if I can't have alcohol, just make sure you're giving me water as I'm sweating these bullets and loving everybody. And oh, now I'm in this club.
I'm terribly sorry. I'm going to have to interrupt you. Your story of Star Club, a child abduction in San Antonio, Texas. Victim is a 7-year-old white female, Amariana Benavides, who was last seen wearing a pink shirt, purple shorts, and no shoes. Call 911 with information. James, do you have the latest on the disappearance of Amariana Benavides?
Yeah, she was last seen at the Start Club, and
Which brings us back to our correspondent E, who is standing outside what once was the Start Club. E, continue your story about the crazy days there.
So, like the crazy days where there'd be a guy in the parking lot and he would have a Pez dispenser and he would sell MDMA to you basically in the parking lot. You would get it for like, it was legal. You'd get it for, 10, 20 bucks a hit. I don't remember, something like that. I think it was like 10. And then when it went illegal, it went to 20. But somewhere like that, you would purchase it. You then would take that and
Man, that seems pretty pricey for 1984.
maybe it was $8. I don't remember, but it
Pretty
seemed like it was
20
like 10
bucks
bucks.
a hit in 1984, dude.
No, that's where it ended up when it got illegal.
That's like $100 a hit today. It's like
well, but I mean, I'm just going by what I remember.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering. That's because I'm trying to figure out the accessibility of it, because we know that it wasn't illegal, so people were selling it on the streets, and the Star Club famously was giving it out. But what was the market for it? And I'm I'm just saying $20 for one hit.
No, $20 back then was when it went illegal. I'm talking about going to the Start Club when it was legal, when everybody was like, "Hey, you can get this," and they had, bowls of it on the table, like James was explaining. Back in that day, when you would go to the Start Club, you wouldn't go until after 2. So all the bars would be closed. And the doors, if you remember those doors, those iconic doors that were at the Start Club, they were like New York City type impressive. It looked like you were going into the underground. And right over there where it was in the brewery, that building had layers and layers that went underground. And it was so, me being from, Buffalo, New York, but seeing city buildings and then going to New York City, it had the vibe of a big city for Dallas club. And so you went in there and then it was just wheels off, in terms of gay. There was not a bathroom that was specifically designated for a sex, and everybody went in there and you'd see 2 dudes getting after it in the bathroom, or 2 girls, or guy and a girl. It was just unisex. insanity, and everybody was on ecstasy, and that drug
That'll do
makes
it.
you very
Yeah,
lovey.
that'll do it.
And it was just insane. And there were like sheets hanging and couches, and you could see whatever sexual act going on wherever if you tried to look hard enough. It was crazy.
It would have made me uncomfortable. I wouldn't have enjoyed that place. I was the closest thing I ever got to that was the old China Club in Chicago, and up in like the crazy VIP room, back around the same. No, not the same time period. I'm sorry. There's probably be the early '90s. Yeah, I was always made uncomfortable by that kind of stuff. James, what about you? You walk through a party, you were looking at people banging. You okay with that?
I mean, James in his 20s, yes. I mean, James in his 40s now wouldn't mind. It's just I'm at the wrong party. Like, y'all have fun. I don't mind you doing what you're doing.
I just find it very skeevy. I'm a bit uptight when it comes to that sort of.
Well, that's at a club, but you could find that in the 80s at a cocaine after party.
Yeah.
I mean, you would find chicks naked in the hot tub or in the pool at some dude's house.
Well, I guess that's okay. It's okay to walk into a party and see a hot tub filled with topless girls. I got no problem with that. Don't get me wrong.
You have your level of
I do. I have when you're like
it just can't be in a public
I don't want to
place.
be in any like orgy situation where I'm like walking around and stepping over people. Oh man, it's just very gross. I don't know.
Well, it wasn't like that. I mean, it was kind of off in a corner. Yeah. There were areas where you knew that there was some type of sex going on back in that suite or back in that private VIP room where they had the champagne bottle where you get the fancy dance.
See, now this happens in New Orleans a ton because New Orleans is 24/7. They don't send everyone home at midnight or 1 o'clock. And so 7 days a week, you can serve alcohol around the clock. So there is this second string of bars that are never the original bar you go to. They're always the one that goes when things die down where normal people go around 1 or 2. And so I don't ever remember going to the Gold Mine before like 2 in the morning. I don't ever remember going to Miss May's before like 2 in the morning. There's a handful of places that you go that are like that, that second tier super night stuff. And that's where you see all the weird stuff, because if you do not have a rage attitude and you're doing alcohol, you're gonna pass out before then. If you're on drugs, you can stay up all night. Those are the people who are up at 3:30 in the morning for the most part. Those of you who have been drinking since 10 o'clock the night before, if you're still going at 3 in the morning, it must be a special occasion, or you're just really, you're in.
I don't think that's true. I know what you're talking about, and I think that the rank and file that you run into in those kinds of places at 5 in the morning, right as the sun is coming up, there are people who are living that life, but I don't think everybody that happens to be there is living that life, because we've all been tourists to it, right? We've all
I mean, you're a tourist at that point.
I have never done it sober.
Oh, well, not sober, but I mean, without being on drugs. I mean, I can tell you, I've been in a lot of bars at 5:30 in the morning watching the sun come up and not having done any drugs, just been drinking with the guys all night.
I mean, I've been at S4, which is still open on Cedar Springs in the middle of Gaytown after hours. I mean, it's just, you go there is kind of like, oh, it's a tourist kind of, thing. Now I'm going to go in there and I'm going to see 2 guys pitching and catching, and I'm going to go, oh, well, I got a problem with that. I mean, you kind of know if you're there that that's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to get upset and you're going to be a Bubba, you're going to get your ass beat, because there's a lot of other gay Bubbas in there that you had no idea.
Bubbas have no ideas how yoked, ripped, and skilled gay dudes in 2023 are. They're all taking jiu-jitsu. They're all
right. I mean, there's like some Bubba that just does not get that. And it's like, it never ended up well for him when he was at the Start Club. Like, okay, you walked into the bathroom, you saw a dude and another dude hitting it in some way, shape, or form, and now you picked a fight with them, okay, because what dudes would be doing that in the bathroom, well, you're kind of in their club,
Yeah,
dude.
you went in
And
Rome, my
so,
friend. You keep your mouth
right,
shut and you get out.
you
if you don't
know,
like it.
everything kind of goes on in here, and I get it. You probably don't want that visual memory in your head, but you opened yourself up when you walked in that door, and the doorman you got through was wearing some furry long coat and big ass kiss boots and had a clipboard and some weird ass looking mascara. I mean, they didn't like hide it. You know, it wasn't like you were walking in. You walked in and you're like, what kind of freak show am I about to go into? It was a cool freak show, but it was certainly wild.
Yeah.
You know, and
Look, I've seen some things. I've done some things. Well, not done some things, but I've seen some things. Like I've been to gay clubs, and I've never seen what you described: two guys pitching and catching in the bathroom. I've never seen it gone that far, but I do remember on the gay.
well, the door opened up. Like there might have been 4 of them in there.
We went to Eric's gay date. We've talked about this before. We went to might have been 4 in there.
I mean, dude.
Okay.
Like,
That one took a little bit of time.
Do you remember the name of the guy who was Eric's gay date?
No.
His name was Cisco Vegas.
That's right. Cisco Vegas. Completely his real name. Anyway,
Yeah.
I remember I went to the bathroom there. That's actually the bar I first met Jagger at. That's where Jagger and his friends came out that night because they heard we were doing a gay pub crawl, so they came out to support us. Jagger was still at the edge at that point. I walked into the bathroom. This was my first experience in a gay bar, and I, as I typically do when I walk into a place, I immediately go to the bathroom. I don't know why. It's just like a thing.
This was the first time you'd been in a gay bar?
Yeah. I've never been in a gay. I don't know, James.
really?
When did I have occasion to go in a gay bar? I was,
There's a girl that I know that's I would call her a good like friend from the past that owns is part owner of Mr. over there on Cedar Springs. We could go over there. Like that would be a fun night.
If we showed that we had any kind of an imprint in the rainbow community this Pride Month, I'd happily go to Mr. But I don't know what's the point. I don't want to go to the Inwood Tavern. Why do I want to go to Mr.
Let's go there. Let's go to S4. Let's go to S4 or Mr.
You are really trying to crank. E is really trying to crank up the party boat again. He has been pushing the last couple. That plan on Friday. Remember how over the top it was? It was like every moment was accounted for with alcohol and fun. It's like it's real. Now he's trying to get us to go to gay clubs. He's trying to get us to go to late night clubs.
Well, I mean, let's be all inclusive.
Okay. All right. Well, nobody has any problems with that.
I didn't hear you including any black clubs. I didn't hear you.
I'd be happy to go to a black club. I just haven't been by one.
Bro, you want to see some wild stuff? Go to that Escapade 2000 or whatever that is, that giant one, and go to Los Pinos if it's still open. I know it sounds like I'm saying penis, but Pinos means pines, like pine trees. Los Pinos. Those are the two places.
So James, let me stop you right here because I know we're just trying to be all inclusive. So my problem with going to a gay club is nothing. I have no issues going to a gay club. You start naming off these clubs. Are these clubs where there's a lot of crime? Am I going to have to worry at 2000 getting shot because of
Yeah. Well, no, you're not going to get shot. They don't have shootings there, but then people get punched in the face.
I don't want to get punched in the face. A gay club, nobody's going to punch me in the face.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine at Los Pinos.
Is my car going to be there when I go back to the parking lot?
Your car will be there. Los Pinos is kind of shady, though. Los Pinos, they were explaining to me, the girls in the back, if they asked if you want to go to the parking lot, they're offering to blow you for money. And just because they have to explain to me because I don't speak Spanish very well. And so they were telling me.
How do I tell them no? Now I got to let her down gently. Now I got to let some whore on the street down gently.
I actually think if we walked in with our crew, right, of just dudes.
Our crew, James.
Our crew of dudes.
We don't have friends.
Right? Well, and the other guys that show up when we're there, right? We're not going to there's not one head that's going to turn because A, they know we're not gay because you can tell, a gay guy can tell another guy that's not gay. And B, we're just 5 dudes. Like that, we've brought nothing to the equation. Now, if we have a listener or two, like we did when we were at what was the place we were on Friday? Crap, I forgot it already.
Lockwood.
Lockwood. When we were at Lockwood Distillery, when we were at Lockwood, we had actual listeners that came up and they were like, "Hey, I recognize you from the show," and they bought me a drink. Dude, was so cool.
Yeah, who was
And
that?
was
I mentioned him on the noon show, James. We told you about this guy. One of our listeners showed up. I know Jennifer was there. Jennifer showed up. We talked to Jennifer. But then some other guy was there, and I just thought he was one of Emil's friends. And the dude left right as I got there, so I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, he was a chiropractor. I don't want to say.
Don't say who he is. But who was he? A chat room guy? Because I feel terrible. I would have liked.
Yeah, he listens. He listens on the show, and he had recalled something. Anyway, we had a good talk. He was a real cool dude. And so yeah. So anyway, I think us going out to like venues like that and getting a chance to see these people that have been so supportive is just cool. Like it was like I was like, okay,
yeah,
that's why I'm here.
We should do a party. We should do a party.
It's close to party time. It's just not there yet.
You seem to be really gearing up for something big's gonna happen. What do you got planned for 4th of July? You pulling out all the stops?
Well, I'm thinking about like testing where I got cut off here on the weed glamping. I was thinking about the first harvest party.
Okay.
Being everybody that I've been sending pictures to.
Okay.
And we all go out there, but instead of glamping in the 18 acres, like I look into getting a hotel room at where Tulsa King was. And so we all have like hotel rooms. And then we go over to the weed farm, right? And we do the harvesting and stuff, and we can like just get baked and whacked. In the 18 acres, we can play like, what is that? The cornhole and like some of the like Texas kind of games.
I'm down. As long as this little running crew can see what kind of trouble Tulsa can present to us on a Saturday night. Let's go see what Tulsa's got to offer. They got to have something going on, right? There's got to be some scene.
They do.
Right? Like, so I think we just like, we say, okay, we're going to get a block of rooms here. It like in Tulsa, there's got to be something like it's decent.
Oh yeah, no, there's nice hotels and there's decent hotels. There's normal hotels in Tulsa.
Right. So like we do that. And then like the deal is like, we look at fun things to do in Tulsa. We schedule that into our plan. But part of the process is we go to the actual weed farm and we work like little farmers. And we like trim down the plants or cut the leaves off or do, I don't know, whatever the grower said. He said he needs people to come in.
Right, so we got to work.
And so
that's okay. That'd be fun. That sounds like a nice way to kind of kick off this idea. This idea.
And then you get an idea. There's got to be like, there's scrap to do in Tulsa somewhere.
Yeah. Within the next couple of days, we'll be doing commercials for some hotel in Tulsa, and E won't tell us why. E, why are we doing commercials?
I'm thinking we're going to do our own commercials, like Airbnb at your glamping stand in the weed farm that we created.
Well, I think that we need to explore these options a little bit more. All right, there they are. That's James, and that's E. We are the Radio Misfits. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. We do this every Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. to whenever. James, Florida Stories, where can people find it?
Everywhere you're already listening to podcasts, iHeart Radio, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and in your mom's bedroom.
All right. E, the secret to a healthy and loving life. Go.
Well, I thought of Willie Nelson's cabin.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Cheech
there you go. That's it. That's the Radio Misfits. I'm Pugs. See you tomorrow at noon. Love you guys. Bye, everybody.
I am on a never-ending quest. I am on on a never-ending quest.